Okay, welcome back. Sometimes over lunch there might be some questions or thoughts that you had as you went around. I'll take a minute if you'd like. If there's other questions or thoughts from this morning.
I was just thinking about some of the stories that I hear from my own kids. I've got a daughter that's in 10th grade and a son that's in junior high. And some of the lunchroom conversation, just people being overtly anti-religious. And I just don't remember, as a student myself, back in the day, that sort of aggressive, anti-religious sort of conversation happening. So I'm sure it was there somewhere. But
What's interesting is we're still a very religious country, especially in comparison to Europe. You know, but I don't think there's a cultural taboo any longer about not being, in quotes, religious. There used to be a cultural support. So people say, well, I don't go to church. People would look at you and say, well, you must go to synagogue. Well, I don't go to synagogue. They really look at you. Now it's like, oh yeah, neither do I. So that's kind of changed a bit. I'm not sure that's a bad atmosphere for us. We work with a lot less assumptions about people, and I think we listen more attentively to them. But I think, people are more critical of religion because they're critical of established institutional religion. It's not religion per se, it's always a particular expression. Other thoughts or questions? You doing all right?
Yep.
This is the after lunch hour crowd. All right.
Fired up and ready, let's go.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to come at the afternoon from the lens of education, faith formation. What I want to note is, based on this morning's comment, you can come at the same material this morning from the angle of worship, stewardship, social justice. So there's lots of doors in, but I need to take just one door, and this is the one I'm most obviously comfortable with. So here's the new reality. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you only have to know one thing. You can learn anything today. Now, this is are you familiar with the Khan Academy? Now, if you're not familiar with the Khan Academy, tonight what you have to go home, you have to Google, not Genghis Khan, but Salman Khan, K-A-H-N, Khan Academy. This started out as one person's project with his nieces and nephews, doing little instructional videos. It's now 5,000 or 6,000 videos used as a kind of a complete curricular video package that schools now use in their curriculum. It's free. It's remarkable. Free. So you truly can learn anything today. This is a game changer. This is going back to personal, portable, and participatory. You can learn anything. This is edX. Are you familiar with edX? This is a collaboration that Harvard and MIT did. And now I think it's a couple dozen schools, to take courses they were doing on campus and put them onto an online platform that would benefit people wherever they were. And also benefit the on-campus courses. So they've taken their real-life courses. MIT has 200 courses with names that you cannot spell because it's MIT, all right, especially for church people. And all kinds of engineering and science and stuff like that. But the democratization of knowledge by the internet is changing everything. And the people who are slowest to change are, well, you know who they are. Religious institutions. This is a revolution in which people already have the gadgets. So they already have the technology. What they don't have is the resources to connect to. And some of the most exciting experiments I've seen churches doing when they really get this is even in populations that don't have the gadgets, they turn a problem into an opportunity. So I worked with one church in Connecticut. It was in the heart of Meriden, Connecticut. Lots of diversity in terms of poverty and immigration and all that. And so they said, well, we don't think most of our people have the gadgets. I said, well, why don't you just turn this into an opportunity. I said, if you put the word out among the area churches that you needed used desktop computers, people would only be thrilled to give them to you, because everyone's got a desktop sitting around somewhere. They may have turned into a planter box or something, but they want to get rid of these things because everyone's mobile now. So you don't need fast computers. You need big screens. You wire them all with Ethernet and get a high-speed broadband in here and turn this into your own version of an internet cafe. Except it'll be St. Rose's Cafe. And get some of these younger folks to help some of these older folks get online. Learn English. And in the process of doing these things, accessing job opportunities, skills, and all the rest, there'll be mentoring going on, but it will be both ways. It sounds like it's the young helping the old, but in reverse, it will be the old sharing their stories with the young. And the church will be the center of this, and you'll be a resource to the whole community. What's not to like? So, even in this world, if you don't bring the gadgets, then provide the gadgets, because you can do that almost for free. Here's the big three shifts. We're shifting from education to learning, anytime, anywhere. So the big shift is, like if 20 years ago we were doing this workshop, we'd be talking about schooling. And that would be the big umbrella. And then education would happen in schools. And education being deliberate, intentional efforts to foster learning. And then learning would spin off of education. So umbrella was schooling, education, and then sometimes in educational settings people learn. Well, the umbrella today is learning. And sometimes learning happens in an educational setting, meaning formal, intentional ways to foster. And sometimes that education happens in a school. Now, any parallel to church is purely coincidental. Exactly the same thing is happening to us. Meaning what? The big category is growing in faith and discipleship. Sometimes that happens in formal, structured ways called education. And sometimes that education happens at church. But we're no longer bounded by that. The second is a shift from consumption of information, the old-time learning, getting it from the catechism into people's heads, primarily. To participatory learning. Has to be engaged. Has to be able to remake it. If you're a millennial learner, or more importantly, an I-generation kid, you want to take it, you want to remake it, you want to present it, you want to engage people, you want to get feedback on it. The whole maker movement in education is to create, to build, to make things happen. And then lastly, the shift from institutions that provide education to networks of learning. I don't know if I've got this one. Okay, yeah. So, the Hive Learning Network was a network that was around our country. Chicago has one of these. And the hub of it was, which of the libraries downtown? I don't know if it was it wasn't the main library, but one of the libraries was a hub for this. Yeah, I don't know, that's the main library, right?
Newberry Library?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But the Hive Learning Network was to connect educational providers in an environment, different educational providers, to provide a laboratory approach to creating transformative learning experiences for young people. Libraries, schools, organizations, museums. Powerful. We now think about learning as a network of people, interactions, institutions that all come together around the person. So what's happened is the institution used to be the center and people fit the institution. Now the person's at the center and the network is built around him or her. And so this child, our key learner, is accessing online stuff, schools, libraries, museums, after-school programs, and home. Those are all settings for his or her learning. Take that example, move it over to churches and say the same exact thing. Church is one part of the network, but we now have the ability to broaden the network out. And the more we broaden the network out, the more opportunities we have for people to learn and grow. Many of you might remember Malcolm Knowles, The Modern Practice of Adult Education. For those who didn't, the father of modern adult education was Malcolm Knowles. He wrote a book in I think the first edition was 1972, called The Modern Practice of Adult Education. And there were subsequent editions of that. And in 76, he wrote a book on lifelong learning that had this, now this is pre-computer, internet, digital, all right? He talked about how do you set up a lifelong learning resource center. This was way ahead of the curve. In other words, how do you set up a network for adult learners that brings together all the assets in a community to help people to learn? Gives them lots of variety, diversity of settings, all those kinds of things. This is possible for us to do today, same image. And he used a lifelong learning resource center, which in those days was a physical place, with educational planning consultants and educational diagnosticians. I love this. And their goal was to sit down with people and map out a learning plan and then say, the world is your classroom. So think about what teachers who are really tuned into this do in their classrooms. They do a lot less teaching content and a whole lot more of facilitating and mentoring learning. Because when you have an abundance of high quality content, you're not responsible to be the content provider. You are designed to be the facilitator, mentor of people's learning. Well, Knowles had this back in 76. This was 100 years ago. And each of these in blue is a different learning environment with people set up, so colleges and schools and businesses and all that kind of stuff, professional organizations. All we have to do is plug in the internet, online, all the rest, and all of a sudden the thing just comes to life. I won't even try to explain it. It's in the PowerPoint. You can read it. But it is about the way each of these in circles is the way learning is adapting to each child instead of each child trying to adapt to us. I can't emphasize this shift enough because church has been in a model which people must adapt to us, our schedule, our content, our program. And consequently, a lot of people squish out the sides where it doesn't fit. So let's just flip it. So what would it be like if, in fact, the ecosystem adapted to the child, to the teenager, to the young adult, to the adult, and gave them a rich variety of resources? This is the concept of network learning and building networks around people, which is why when I do workshops, I say every church can have vibrant, comprehensive adult faith formation. If you just think a little bit outside the box, every church can have adult faith formation. So few churches do because they're locked in the old model, how to provide a program. So you'll love this example. So I'm working with a Presbyterian church, big Presbyterian church, who has done adult Bible studies for years and years and years and years. And people still come on Sunday morning. And it's at 9 o'clock, let's see, 9 o'clock? 9:30 to 10:30 between the 8 o'clock worship service and the 11 o'clock worship service. This is a church, it's in the South. People still dress up for church, jacket, ties. And they have a rich variety of adult Bible studies going on Sunday morning. And the average age of the people who are doing it is my age. Who have been in Bible study groups for their whole adult life. So the question to me is, well, how do we get some more of these 20 and 30 and 40 somethings into Bible groups? Wrong question. How do I provide 20, 30, and 40 somethings opportunities to study the Bible? Not necessarily get them in our groups. I said, so if a Bible study group's been around, hanging together, working through the Bible for the last 4, 5, 6 years, and the average age is 68 years old, what's the chance a 32-year-old wants to join that group? Heck, what's the chance I want to join that group? And I said, and what slice of people are available from 9:30 to 10:30 on Sunday morning? Especially if you're not going to the 8 o'clock or 11 o'clock worship service. I said, why don't you do Bible study? Why don't you do programs on Wednesday night? Why don't you put some online? And you could just see the looks on people's faces of, oh my God, Wednesday night? Online? Don't stop what you're doing. Add to what you're doing. So the notion here is put the person at the center of faith formation. Individuals, families, children, teens, adults, and then wrap networks around them. And now that you have digital platforms and resources to do it, we can expand learning and faith formation exponentially and offer people all kinds of opportunities, which include things we're already doing right now and whole kind of new opportunities they can learn anywhere, anyplace, anytime. That's a game changer if you're in the faith formation business. So I'll do an example. I'll come back to this in a moment. So when I'm working with churches, I can make this a little bigger. So I work with churches. I want them to see the potential of online and digitally enabled faith formation. Faith formation that integrates what they're doing in physical places like on the church campus, but opens them up to be able to personalize, customize, and tailor faith formation around their people. So this is not a church that actually exists, but it's Holy Trinity Adults where I'm the pastor and the whole congregation all at the same time. Okay, so I created as an example site. I'll give you some real ones in a minute. And what we've done in Holy Trinity Adults is we're welcoming adults to faith formation opportunities. This is a church with no adult faith formation staff, but is doing vibrant adult faith formation, which actually is like 90% of all churches in the United States are in the same situation, right? Like, how many full-time adult faith formation coordinators do you know? My point. So welcome to Adult Faith Formation. These are our winter, spring offerings. We do 3 seasons of programming. And we have playlists for you. So here's the newest concept in education. Develop playlists from which students can select what they want to learn, how they want to learn it, where they want to learn it. And each of the playlists is filled with content, but is adjusted to the multiple intelligences, learning styles, interests of the students. Well, take it to adult faith formation. So if you're going to want to join my church, by the way, I have some forms, and of course I have also online giving. Well, of course, you have a website for online giving. So I'll take your names at the end, give me cards, and we'll sign you up for Holy Trinity. So the concept of playlist is something simply taken from iTunes, Spotify, where you personalize and customize play. Well, I'm customizing playlists from which you can choose what you want to participate in. Now, my categories are not like revolutionary. Scripture enrichment, spiritual life, faith enrichment, of course, Lent. And so each of them has a variety of ways to learn that offers enough diversity. So like my scripture enrichment, well, I'll show you the page, offers enough variety and diversity that my goal is for you to find something you want to engage with. At church, at home, on your own, with a small group. And for me to get out of the responsibility of saying, I have to find the right day and the right group to fit you into. No, I don't. Those days that ship has sailed. Now it's up to you. Motivation starts within, not from external. So what do you want to participate in? So if you were at Holy Trinity right now, you'd be involved perhaps in our scripture, because March is Scripture Month. And we're taking the topic, the death and resurrection of Jesus. And I just kind of popped. And you have 4 ways to engage with it. We have a 4-session presentation in series of church, because I've got adults who just love coming out for the Wednesday night series. They've been doing it since they were 25 years old. I don't even have to advertise it really. They all know it's on Lent Wednesday, see it. But I'm also offering people a chance, if you can't make our Wednesday night series because you have life, you're out, you're working, you've got kids and the rest, you can watch the 4-part video presentation on your own, because we're recording it. And because I'm going to take the 4-part series, and I'm going to write little study group questions. So Friday night, you want to get together at your house on your big screen TV. Go online to Holy Trinity Adults. Watch the video. It's also on our YouTube channel. Here's a couple of questions. In between your glass of Chardonnay, Cabernet, or your home brewed beer, you can interact with this at any time you want. If a group of young adults wants to get together at 11 o'clock at night and do this, that's fine. I am not going to be there. It's always available. So now I've taken a program on the passion narratives. Come, do it yourself, do it in a small group. What I've been trying to really emphasize with churches is, you no longer have the option of creating one-time programs. You've got to get as much mileage out of every program offering that we do. So do it in person, record it, do it online, do it in a small group, do it on your own. We've got a multi-channel, our faith formation programming. Then we also can participate in a 6-week small group study, and we can study the death of Jesus on our own. So here we go. I simply built this on the Weebly.com platform. You're familiar with things like Squarespace, Wix, Weebly. They're all website builders. I like Weebly because it's the simplest of them. It's drag and drop. I don't need to know any of the WordPress, advanced stuff. And at my age, I'm not going to learn it anyway. So here's our Thursday program. I'm sorry, it's Thursdays this year. Those are the dates. Those are our 4 keys. And I'll pick 4 presenters who will come in. They'll give me their best hour. We'll record it. Of course, my high school kids will be recording it. I don't know how to record it. They know how to record it. And then I'll ask them to take it, and I've asked the presenter if he or she would just put this into like 3 20-minute or 4 15-minute segments, because no one's going to watch an hour, but they will watch 15 or 20 minutes. And put them in part 1, part 2, part 3. And then they'll register online for the series, so I know they're coming. You can watch it on your own. I'll have even a PDF of study questions they could do. Now, the other thing I could do, because you don't do this on a website, but on Facebook, I could have my scripture study group in a Facebook group, and everyone's invited to that group. So whether you're in person, on your own, or in a small group, you can be sharing reflections and experiences of interacting with these 4 presenters and their content. So websites don't do that. Social media wrapped around that provides us a forum where people can easily connect with each other, share, post, interact.